Okay, so for this hair, I'm going to work over here on the part. It's not so different than the hair that I did last week, except it is significantly lighter, I think, for the most part. So what you're going to see me do is I'm just going to kind of work on that basic difference and show you how I would approach it. So for this, again, the important part of capturing the hair is, hey, listen, there are light parts and there are dark parts. And obviously with slightly lighter hair or more light on the hair, there's going to be more dramatic differences between that. But what you see in the top picture over here is that there are some darker areas underneath here, closer to the forehead and the actual hairline. And then near the top of the head, where more light is hitting on it, you see some lighter, sort of lighter gray values. So again, I'm going to start off by trying to get those values in, but when I'm getting them, I am trying to get them by making marks that go in the same general direction as the flow of the hair. When I go out to try to blend this, what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to almost like comb the hair a little bit. My finger was clean to start with, so it's wiping a little bit of that off. But the first thing I'm going to do is kind of just blend a little bit of that into the paper, just to kind of get some of the charcoal in there. But more importantly, you see the way I've blended it. I've tried to go in the same flow and direction that the hair is going. That way, I almost intentionally make it streaky. Now, in the darker, richer area near the part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start making some line, and this is one of the few areas where I do use my my charcoal in a way to kind of make things intentionally streaky. And what I want to try to just pick up is a little bit of the texture that you see of the hair and a little bit of a sense of the light. Just like I've said before, we're not going into the hair and trying to copy every last strand of the hair. Not like we're doing with the nose, with the eyes, the mouth. What we're trying to get with the hair, it's like when they make a movie out of a book. It's based on like a true story. Just because it's based on a true story doesn't mean that it gets all the things that you find in the book. Sometimes it may not even necessarily be as honest or truthful as the true story was. It could be a little bit sort of made up. And I am making up the hair, but I'm making up the hair based on what I'm seeing in the picture and trying to inform it by picking up at least the texture, the lighting, and the sort of flow and direction of the hair. So what I've done now is I've added a little bit more in terms of some streakiness and value. I may come in a little bit, and in places I didn't love what I did, just kind of blend it out a little bit and come back and add a little bit more. I don't have to have an infinite amount of marks in here because when people look at the picture of your face, the drawing of your face, they're going to ultimately understand that that area above your eyebrows is going to be hair. And really all you need to do is let them know, okay, it's long, it flows, it curls, it has a little bit of volume and body, and this is the shape of it, and this is how the light is hitting it. So again, I'll take my kneaded eraser, I'll sort of stretch it out till I get a clean part, and I'll wedge out like a little edge like this, like a little blade almost, and I'll use that to kind of come back in sometimes to erase some lighter spots into the hair. And you'll find that that little edge and that little blade kind of gets caught up with charcoal pretty quickly, so you can always kind of wedge it and re-wedge it. But if you end up being too dark or too gray, you can always use this to kind of give yourself a little bit more control of the eraser, and you can use the eraser itself to kind of draw a little bit with itself, kind of give you some of the same little marks and everything else like that. And really that's all you need to do. You don't need to do more than what you see over here. Some lines for the texture. You're not going to get every single line. We're using charcoal, not pencil. You're going to get the flow and the sort of movement of the hair. So if it's long and flowy, your marks should kind of be long and flowy as well. We're going to need to get like a base, which is what I'm doing right now. So you can see my mark, trying to get the look of the hair. It's sort of parted right here. It's not very dark. A little bit more weight, a little bit more value right here is sort of like at the turn, but most of the other hair is streaky going down this way. The underneath area here near the actual scalp, a little bit darker. And even if it should look in your picture like it's jet black and a giant clump of darkness, even with that, you should still try to fill in that space going in the same direction as the hair is flowing. Even if you have to look at your hair in real life in a mirror to kind of get a feel for like, okay, I see the direction that it's going. The other thing too is you may not necessarily want to make every single mark the same thickness, the same weight, the same darkness, because the more you do that, the more uniform you make the sort of lines for the hair, the more likely what you're going to do is make it look very unnatural and unrealistic. Our hair is inherently, even a close crop haircut is still messy to a certain extent. So we want to get a little bit of that randomness in there. Again, when I start blending this, I'm not going to go crazy blending it. I'm going to intentionally leave it streaky. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my finger over it like I'm combing the hair just to create a base of value. And you can see the irregularity in that value. That makes it look a little bit more naturalistic. And then after I have that base, I'm going to come back in and try to add some more streaks of texture, building back some of the dark area that I may have wiped away with that blend. And this is why I keep the hair till last, because it does require a lot of charcoal, but it also requires that I do some mark making at the end that really is not going to get blended out. And since it's not going to get blended out, for my purposes, I really want to make sure that it's not an area I'm going to go back over again. I'm not going to drag my hand over it again. It's sort of finished. So I keep the hair to the end. That way I don't have to worry about smudging that every time I take my drawing out or get back to work on it. And again, I'm putting more marks where I see the hair a little bit darker, and where it's lighter, I'm going to leave it kind of alone. And then again, if I need and I feel like I'm missing something as far as like a little, I got too dark or anything else like that, pinch a wedge. You can come back in and add a little bit of light if necessary. And then just like I did on the hair before, the other day, you know, we want to kind of be a little realistic. So a couple really light, faint lines, and give it the idea of some flyaways and just some more natural kind of things that are happening. No matter how much time you spend combing, brushing, or gelling it down, there'll be a little bit of that. So make sure that you add a couple of those little flyaway marks and lines. And you can see what I did over there. In the darker part of the picture, you'd have more lines, they'll be heavier, but we still want to kind of show off that texture. Hopefully that'll be enough to kind of give you an idea of what the hair should look like. And again, we're basing it on a true story. The picture itself is just a reference in this case. We're going to use that reference for the sort of body, the motion, the texture, and the lighting that we see. And we're going to just try to catch and pick up on a few of those things so that it looks like regular hair.